Mr. Newton.
Number one, starting with the paragraph concerning the composition of the committee.
Middle of the first page.
I'm sorry?
Middle of the first page.
On the first page, yes, middle of the first page. First paragraph under the resolved paragraph, you indicate the city human resource officer, and there's also two thoughts. If the committee is going to be voting, you would normally want to have an equal number in case of tie. Otherwise, you would have to indicate in case of tie that it would need to be brought to the city council to be a to resolve it by a vote of the city council. But regardless, and despite my admiration for our current city human resource officer, I'm wondering if it shouldn't be similar to the audit, if it's going to be similar to the audit committee, that he would be an advisor to this committee, actually, rather than being a committee member. But I'm just raising that as an issue.
I understand what you're saying.
And I just for discussion.
That's a good discussion point.
The next question is, I have some question. You say city officer, and I'm not quite. Did you mean council member there? It says the members will be mayor, city manager, and city officer. Well, who's the city officer? Because otherwise that would refer to the human resource officer up above.
Mm-hmm.
And then
quite see where you're saying
the
that.
Next paragraph down.
The next paragraph.
That is the city human resource officer, huh?
So
Same
you're
person.
You're referring to the HR officer?
Those are the ones with the standing
Those are the standing
position.
members. Okay, and then the city. Now that makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe we could just
Clarify that.
Pursue this. Insert HR.
Can I address your first point?
Yes, please.
I view this differently in some material ways from the audit committee. Audit committee is an interesting thing because there are people who are closest to the numbers, to posting to ledgers, to handling cash, handling receipts and disbursements for an organization, preparing budgets, and reporting, financial reporting. And the people that are involved in those functions directly need the benefit of an outside auditor, and that auditor needs the benefit, as we established last year, of an audit committee with the city manager, mayor, and the others that are comprise that audit committee. And I feel like we've even done some good in this last year with respect to that committee. There's that sort of independence. The whole thing on the accounting side is relevance and verifiability and independence and et cetera of accounting information to be valuable and able to have management usability. In this instance, we're talking about specialties and we're talking about a blend of people. We're not talking about an audit function per se, because if somebody needs to come in and audit our benefits from the state or whatever it might be, that's a different question. But here we're talking about bringing expertise together. Nobody more expert than the individual who deals with this day by day, knows the providers, the benefit plans, the options, the industry, et cetera, has that expertise along with the responsibility of the city manager as a overall management of this, and then together with the other members of the committee. So I do see it differently than an audit committee, and feel pretty strongly that the human resource officer needs to be a part of that discussion as opposed to doing something separate and apart from that individual.
Okay.
Chuck, what was your concern about a tie? Did you say you were concerned about?
Oh, if there's some type of vote, you have 4 people on there.
There's 5.
The mayor, city manager, HR. Okay.
And the one resident, yeah.
Miscount.
I just want to be sure I wasn't missing it.
No, thank you for that clarification. The next paragraph, it refers to 5 full days of service, not limited to. Mm-hmm. However, if on the other side where you indicate no less frequently than every 2 years, and there's an election to do it every 2 years, it might be that the information and discussion and such might have to go longer than 5 full days. I'm sure that Mr. Cunningham, as the city's human resource officer extraordinaire, probably spends more than 5 days a year compiling the information and reviewing it and such to do that, and then to present that as part of the committee and be part of the committee, And if they're going to go through it and questions come up, I easily see that it could exceed that. And I'm not sure that we should limit that if we're going to have a city resident. Maybe we should limit it to, so that we don't get a full-time employee, limit it to, less than 30 hours a week. But other than that, leave it at the discretion of the committee.
Yeah, I guess it starts with the concept of what this person would do. In my mind, this person wouldn't be the researcher, wouldn't be the analyst, wouldn't be the employee substitute. This person would come in with their particular expertise and see how we've structured job categories and see how pay incentives and career ladders working and see some of these things that the individual hopefully would have some industry or business experience with, and be able to lend their participation to the committee to help guide in these issues, but would not be obliged for the actual research and the hours that would be required by city staff, frankly, that's doing it now. To bring this information together. And I suggest here that we say we're thinking about no more than 5, but not expressly limited for that concept to stick, so that we don't end up with a part-time employee, which is certainly not my intent of this. So if it's 6 days or 7 in a given year or whatever, then it's certainly understandable at a daily rate. And I don't know what that is. I think it's $65 or $75 or whatever it might be from time to time. But I think it's pretty nominal compared to what the benefit, if that individual can come in and lend an objectivity. And I think it has a lot of benefit with respect to how we project ourselves and the transparency with which we're striving to act.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Further discussion? Well,
I guess I have one question. Based upon some of the discussions and such, I'm wondering if Mr. Seetover wants to redefine and clarify some of these issues before we go further down the road with it then.
What I'd like to do, and I don't know exactly where this assistance comes from, but I'd like to have this draft be positioned more as a legal resolution, and the concerns and considerations here perhaps begun to be addressed in the next draft, but I think my drafting days are over from a standpoint. I'm on the third one here, and I'd like to take these concepts and move that into something that would be, there's some inconsistency here. There's the issue of the fiscal year versus the calendar year. This next to last paragraph is pretty convoluted because it talks about elected officials and ends up talking about South Jordan employees that nobody dinged me on yet. But when I glanced back through that just now, I said, some idiot wrote that. But I would prefer, if it were agreeable to the council, to turn this over to our legal department under Mr. Wall's direction and ask if a more formal draft for resolution may be structured with obvious imperfections and voiced concerns here addressed in that next draft.
Sure, I'm happy to do that. In fact, if I can just interject a couple of other things, I'd like to, as I'm sitting here looking at it, there's something else that we probably need to get before the council, and that is the policy and procedures for boards and commissions. And in fact, I probably am remiss. I missed something else that we need to look at that for. In that policy, we set out that we don't use the word standing, but the implication is ongoing committees. That's probably the best way to say it, are to be comprised of 6 members with a member appointed by each council member. And so we need to, if this is the construct, then we'll need to tandemly take that policy and revise that so it fits what we're doing here. And then the other thing I thought of is that I didn't think about this, but when we set up the audit committee, we need to do the same thing for the audit committee. And we can do that. It's just another document I need to get in front of you and suggest some changes to it. And then the other thing I'd like to do is just take a look at this and run run this through our code to make sure that we're consistent with any provisions we have in the code. And the only one that I'm thinking of right now is the powers of mayor, council, and city manager. Just want to make sure and go through we're consistent, and I'll bring back to you any issues I find. But those are two documents I'd like to review, and then we can put this in resolution form so that you can continue discussing it.
Can I ask one other question about that as it relates? A concern that I have with, even though I like the illustration, but this document becomes aged pretty quickly in that we have specific figures in here that relate to 2012 budget, not even 2013 or 2014 budget. As far as the 77%, that was something that was originally adopted, and we've now changed on that.
Saying, yeah.
We've got a situation that here in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 65% may be already achieved. So my concern is how, rather, I don't know if we put that in a preamble of some kind, or if in fact we make it as part of the actual resolution. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say there?
Very much so. 5 years from now, it's just dated.
It is dated.
Because the point is that this committee is operating under principles established from time to time, jointly with city management and the city council. And so that maybe needs to come out a little more clearly, and these dated references maybe belong somewhere else in the minutes, but not in the resolution.
That's what I'm...
For example, I like that. May I comment with respect to Mr. Wall's comment? And that is, I would encourage us to update our policy and procedures for, I can't read my own writing, for boards and committees, I think is what you said.
It's actually even longer than that, but given the hour is abbreviated.
That's the idea. And the idea being, heretofore, the city has had and operated a seniors committee, an historical committee, a youth committee, et cetera. And these are great things, but let's be clear. These aren't technical committees. These aren't committees of professionals that have a certain focus, like an audit committee might be, or a compensation focus might be. And so I think it would be, in my view, disastrous to follow that same format, that each council member appoints somebody and the rest of us agree to that as a sort of courtesy appointment, like we do with the other broadly based committees. So I would encourage that to be reviewed and see where we can true some things up for a technical committee, which I think has a different nature to it altogether.
Well, and one other issue you just made me think of is that the policy itself doesn't distinguish specifically between ongoing standing committees versus just ad hoc committees like the PUD committee the City Council enabled a couple of years ago. And yet if you read the whole thing, it's obvious it's talking about ongoing advisory bodies to the City Council, and that can be clarified too.
Yeah.
Great. Very, very good.
Very good.
Any further discussion on that item? We'll move forward to...
Just a timing question again.
Okay. Timing?
Do we think 4 weeks is sufficient? And I don't want to crowd this out with other important things. Is it a 6-week thing, or back with your draft?
Probably want to have another discussion. Maybe, let's see, we're the 16th of April. We don't do study meeting the 2nd. How about if we get it to you within 4 weeks, and then you can schedule it for discussion further in the June study meeting?
Would that be acceptable?
I don't know if does that work,
We've
John?
already got a concept like this on that agenda, so that worked perfectly.
We've actually scheduled
the first Tuesday in June.
To put it on that June 1st visioning meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll work to get it done
What
in
you're
about...
saying is the Saturday meeting.
Right.
Okay.
It's already on that. It's already on that agenda to have that discussion.
That'd be appropriate. That's still
Sure.
a
Want to
public
do it
meeting.
there, or would you prefer to move both of those off and together to the 1st of June work session? What would be your preference?
I'm open to either one. I would leave that to the council if they've got any specific criteria.
We'll say our June meeting, first meeting, seems to be filling up pretty quickly. We could be there a day and an evening.
You mean our visioning meeting?
If it's
Yeah.
related.
Well, I think that
was
we're going to
coming
have to pare that down. It's
I took
2
stuff
pages
off.
right
But
there.
what's still left on? I thought there
This was already on it.
We'll work to get that to you within the next 4 weeks, so at least you have a week or two to look at it before, whether you do it in visioning or the first study meeting in June.
And then we can actually make it a...
And then you can finalize any changes, and then we'll bring it back to you for action
Okay,
in the future when you're ready.
thank you. Appreciate that. Next item.